Just realized I have a Costco Nation cup noodle box behind me with some of my comics in it. How you doing? I picked up a comic today. So as you know, if you've been watching my videos, you know I have $20 in my name, and I'd been eyeing this comic. So I actually, let me backtrack. I have $20 and like some, change and whatnot. So it turned out to be like a little over $22. Um, but there's a comic I've been eyeing. It's $25. And today I went to the shop and I tried to talk him down, but this shop is not like it's not somebody. I mean, it, the there are owners, there are shareholders for this shop, so it's not like your typical small business. It's like sort of like a larger enterprise, and they carry a lot more. I mean, they deal more in like toys and books rather than comics. So it's not really a comic shop. It's sort of just like a pop culture. Um, anyway, I'm not gonna name names, but it's a pretty well-known shop in the Puget Sound area. I would say it's one of the probably the best known. So go ahead and take a guess. But anyway, they had a comic in their bin. Usually, like they have a back issue bin, and it's pretty much all modern comics. But they had this one in there, and that's the thing. Like if you look at their comic prices, they have also like a lot of wall books or like displayed key issue books that many are graded, some are raw, but if you look at the prices, they're generally really like they're a little over fair market value for a lot of the books, um, except the one I found in the back issue bin. And so we're gonna get to that. So eventually, we're gonna get to that. I'm gonna save that for last. So we're gonna just get through now. We're gonna continue to grade. Maybe I should do the yeah, I want to do the comic call, but it's not really a comic call, so I'm just gonna save it. So just know I'm gonna save the comic I picked up today for last. We're gonna look at it for, as the final comic of my collection since it's the most recent pickup. Okay, here's here are my most valuable comics outside of the CGC submission. And so I also reported in an earlier video that my comics had been pressed, cleaned and pressed, but that's, or actually, so I have two tiers. I have a tier for the more valuable tier, and then I have this sort of the bottom tier, and they were separated. So it was separated into a bottom tier and an upper tier. The upper tier is the one that's being graded, cleaned and graded now. So just the status changed on the submission, and it's at CCS, and it's getting pressed and graded. Pressed and cleaned at the moment. And the books at CGC are my biggest books. So right now the comics that are getting cleaned and pressed are my X-Men 120, Spider-Man 252, Amazing Spider-Man 252, and the Deadpool, New Mutants 98, Deadpool's first appearance. So three big keys, and I'm hoping for 9.8s, but I'm gonna go ahead and say I think the grades are 9.8. I really think they're 9.8, but I think I'm tempering my expectations a little bit, so they may be a 9.6. In fact, if they come back a 9.6, I'll be disappointed, but I think it'll reframe my thinking, since I'm not a grader and I'm just somebody enjoying this hobby. I tend to, when I look at books, I tend to just kind of like try to look at the book and give it, like, because it's something I could potentially own, or if I'm at the shop, I tend to give it like a better grade, or try to like not look at the flaws as objectively as I probably should. And so I think that hurts me a little bit. So anyway, we're already 6 minutes into the video. Let's get started. So we're going to save this for part 2, and we're just going to go into this stack here. And so yes, I do keep my comics in these hard cases, just because I keep them in these like binders. They're not binders, they're like, what's the best thing I'll just show you what they are. So basically it's this case. It's got these like sleeves you can put like notes in, but I'm leaving my comics in them. And so we'll go through this stack. Now they're sort of just randomly ordered. They're not necessarily in any kind of order in this book. So we'll just go through each one individually. Let me just pull it out here real quick. I'll try to keep holding the camera while I do this. And I'm going to put this off to the side here. And then we'll go over the books I have in here. So, and now we're going to grade all the books in here. These have a considerable more, value, but they're not, again, like I said, the ones at CGC are my most expensive books, so you're not going to see anything more expensive than what I just mentioned. New Mutants 98, ASM 252, and Uncanny X-Men 120. Those are my most expensive, so everything in here is below that, so temper your expectations as well of my collection. So let's start with this first book here. Just pull out the books in this stack here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we've got looks like a couple books in here, and we'll just go through them. Let me just put my camera down real quick. Okay, so we're going to start here with this book here. This is Joe Madureira's, I believe it's his first cover with Marvel, and it's the Deadpool, the Circle Chase. This is Deadpool's first limited series, his first sort of comic book series outside of his appearance in the New Mutants. And so, again, Joe Madureira's first art on the cover here. It's a nice cover. It's black. And we're just going to take a look at the grade here. So I don't anticipate this to be a 9.8 because we've got a spine tick right there. But the corners look pretty good. Okay. I don't know. That's something on the bag, I believe. What is that? Is that the bag, or what is that? That's a bag, thank goodness. Oh my goodness, I thought that was like, that's a bag. So we've got these little, I mean, they're magnified here, obviously, but those are gonna affect the grade as well. they're just little nicks. And we've got sort of a nicked corner as well. So I would anticipate this is still a 9. Let's check the spine here. We've got 1. Kind of like a 2, 3. 4 spine, 4 like very minor color breaking spine ticks, and just nicks all around. So I anticipate this will get a 9.0. Yeah, this would get a 9.0 grade. I mean, it's a very clean looking book. There's really nothing outside of those like minor flaws, but there are enough minor flaws to really, I think, drop the grade. Could be higher than 9.0, but I think just as a conservative estimate, I would expect a 9.0. But still a nice book. I'd be willing to trade or sell that as well. I've got 2 copies of, so I've got 3 copies of number 13, and I've got 2 copies of 1. These are McFarlane's iconic Spider-Man webbing covers, and this one I anticipate is a high grade. So as you'll see, corners look good. I'm doing it very quickly. There's nothing outside the corners on the cover that would that are of issue. So this is a very nice copy. I will be submitting this. That is the bag, and it's looking good. It's looking good. It's looking very good. Staple looks good. I think the only fault you might get is the cover looks kind of, I mean, not that it's faded, but it's not like vibrant. And these books are somewhat weathered because they've been sitting in a box with temperature fluctuations, seasonal temperature fluctuations in a room at my parents' place. So I anticipate it might have affected just the color in some way. I don't know. That's just a theory. But yeah, very high grade book. Same. So I got these as like a spec book back when I was in college, when these first came out. So I got 2 copies of the number 1, and I got 3 copies of number 13, just because I thought, this Spider-Man was just a great and collectible run by McFarlane. So as you can see, I've got 2 copies in here, and we're just going to kind of, based on the spine, just kind of make a determination on the grade now. So those are actually very clean corners because that's magnified. So these are very, very minor. That's well within the 9.8 range threshold. Now, if we have anything color breaking along the spine, that's going to change the story. But I don't see anything. I don't see anything that would indicate that. I am going to get these pressed before I get them graded. It's a very nice copy, very nice copy. That's on the bag, I believe. Yep. That corner looks good. Beautiful comic. So I'll have extra copies of this. I'll keep the highest grades and sell the rest. So I do have another, again, 2 more look at that comic. This is a 90s book as well. Spider-Man Unlimited. This has been rising up in value leading up to the Venom movie. I don't know what's going to do to the price now that the movie is out. I anticipate it'll drop in value a little bit, but you know, this is the first